A first look inside the hotel that Denver is offering to people living on the streets. Her job is to call folks who are getting out of the hospital after trying to take their life.
When I can talk to someone and they can say, you don't understand, I can tell them I do understand.
Congress could give tribes more control over buffalo populations, something Colorado is already doing. And a cyclist prepares to tell the world about how this sport helped save his life. Tonight on Next. Denver saw a different kind of homeless sweep today, because when the city workers arrived to dismantle the camp, nearly all the people living there were gone. The city had offered them hotel rooms. Our Mark Salinger went to talk with them about what that means.
There's a lot to clean up here. Tents, tables, trash, leftovers of what people who lived at this camp just yesterday left behind. By the time the city came in with fences, police, and garbage trucks, nearly everyone had already moved out. Today, they're living here.
You can't put into words something that's so dramatically different. It was just, I don't believe this is really, how can this be real? Pinch yourself kind of thing.
Kyra Dolores slept in a bed for the first time in months last night, when the city came through last week and told her they planned to sweep the camp that she was living at. She took them up on their offer for shelter.
Today I'm sleeping in a hotel room with my dog on a bed with a toilet, which is amazing. So, and water running that we can get to whenever we want. Just like, it's just different. It's just, you forget the little things that matter when you're just trying to get through the day.
In this converted hotel, things are different. No drugs, no alcohol, no visitors, not even family. Mayor Mike Johnston is betting people are willing to follow these rules in exchange for shelter and services. Every person swept from a homeless camp will be offered a place like this to live instead of their tent.
To have this happen, it's like miraculous, really. Short of anything else to say.
A day ago, Kyra woke up on a street corner with her pit bull sleeping next to her for protection. Today, she woke up with a sense of hope.
I really feel safe here, and that's a miracle. That's amazing. Yeah, it's amazing. Sorry. Safe is amazing.
There are homeless advocacy groups who say this is a good first step, but there isn't enough room for everyone who wanted housing to get into the hotel. 70 people from the camp outside the governor's mansion were taken to that hotel. One advocacy group that we spoke with says at least 20 people from the camp were not allowed to go to that hotel because it was simply full. The hard part now starts with keeping people healthy, make sure that they're doing well, making sure that they're successful in this environment, and Kyle, just getting them back on their feet.
Mm-hmm. I know from a couple of days of your conversations with folks who are living on the street, you hear the same concerns, which is just so much of my day is taken up with the basics. Where can I go to the bathroom? Where can I eat? Where can I find water? Am I safe? That now
Right.
to have those things taken care of opens up a world of possibility, but folks have challenges.
There's change that's happening. I mean, you go from one day quite literally living on the street, on a street corner, the next day waking up in a hotel where you have food, you have services, you have a hot shower. Things change. We did a story last night with a woman who goes by Mary Jane. A lot of you guys may remember it watching at home. We tried to talk to her today. She wasn't in a position to talk today.
Yep.
We're wanting to introduce people to more people who are going through this exact same thing. But everybody says the same thing. This provides hope. We'll see down the line if it provides change as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Give people a couple of basic advantages, not even advantages, a couple of basic necessities, and see if they can overcome their challenges.
We'll see what happens.
Mark, thank you. Hotel conversions do make up most of Mayor Johnson's sheltering plan so far. His administration says they're looking at 500 additional units across several sites. That includes a potential $17 million investment to build a new hotel shelter for families. The nonprofit Volunteers of America wants to build a 5-story, 60-room hotel on West Colfax that would serve families without a place to live. The hotel would replace a family motel shelter that's already on the property. Volunteers of America says the new shelter would serve up to 170 people at once. They're asking the city to chip in $13 million in bond money and another $4 million in grants. If this gets approved, the shelter construction would have to be done in 3 years. And after at least 20 years of operating as a shelter, it could then be converted into affordable housing. City Council committee okayed that plan today. It still needs to go to the full council. Colorado Congresswoman Lauren Boebert is part of a small group of far-right Republicans in the House that are pushing the country toward a government shutdown. Without a deal in a couple of days, Federal employees and military service members in Colorado could be furloughed. There could be a pause in benefits like WIC, which helps more than 90,000 families in Colorado buy food. The deal is that GOP House Speaker Kevin McCarthy has to appease this small group, including Representative Matt Gaetz, who you saw there in Boulder, to keep his job. They're demanding significant spending cuts and increased border security, or they won't fund the rest of government. That shutdown could come this weekend. House Republicans could vote to fund individual agencies like the Department of Defense and Homeland Security as early as tonight, but a handful of holdouts are threatening to block a final vote. Former President Donald Trump has been encouraging those House conservatives to, quote unquote, shut it down unless they get everything they want. Colorado Republican Congressman Ken Buck was asked about that.
How much sway does the former president hold over your colleagues at this moment?
Oh, I don't think he holds any sway. I think that Kevin McCarthy has a problem because he made one promise when he was getting elected Speaker that he would hold spending to a $1.47 trillion number. And now he is talking to Republicans about a $1.52 trillion number, which Democrats have said they won't accept because it's less than the debt ceiling deal.
There is a bipartisan deal, a short-term deal, being rushed over from the Senate tonight that would keep the government operating through mid-November. It's not clear if Speaker McCarthy can convince his members to vote for it. Colorado Senators Michael Bennet and John Hickenlooper are calling on indicted Senator Bob Menendez of New Jersey to resign. That would not change the vote in the Senate. They're all Democrats, and it would be a Democratic governor picking Menendez's replacement if he goes. But the dozen Senate Democrats calling for their colleague to leave stands in pretty stark contrast to the Republicans defending indicted Congressman George Santos and 4 times indicted presidential candidate Donald Trump. Senator Bob Menendez is facing federal corruption charges. He kind of collects them. He was acquitted of similar corruption charges in 2017 and 2018. According to this latest indictment, the senator and his wife accepted cash, a car, and gold in exchange for using his position to benefit people he knew. Menendez denies all of it. When an ER patient leaves the hospital in Colorado after a suicide attempt or a drug overdose, a follow-up can be a literal lifesaver. Our Jennifer Meckles introduces us to a woman who signed up to make those difficult but crucial calls.
While most hospital staff worries about the patients inside their buildings,
And I can say, I'm calling to see how you are.
Terry Lawson's job is to check on certain patients after they leave.
And my job here is to follow up with the folks that have been through the emergency room, either for anxiety, suicide attempt, any of those things, that depression.
She is a peer support specialist with Advent Health's Caring Contacts. This is a pandemic-launched program that checks in with patients after an ER visit for a mental or behavioral health problem.
I just say, tell me what's going on. How can I help? Is there anything I can do for you today?
And Terry is uniquely qualified.
Had a father that passed away at 49 from alcoholism. My mother also passed. Lost my son. It'll be 12 years this October, and all due to addiction.
Her son Christian died in 2011, part of generations of loss after loss.
My great-grandfather, my grandfather, and an uncle, all suicide. I know what it feels like to be helpless and not know what to do next or how you're going to manage the next day.
A huge time of high risk for patients is immediately post-discharge from the emergency room or from our inpatient units.
Vijatan sees those patients in the ER, but the journey to health and healing has to continue after.
Getting the right person to give them the information, and sometimes just hearing it for the 2nd or the 6th or the 10th time might be enough to get that person more interested and interested enough in going and seeking out help.
I personally believe that all the things that have happened in my life have prepared me to do this.
The losses in Terry's life could have been insurmountable, but she did survive, to now show others how.
Everyone gave back to me. Everyone was there for me when I needed them, and I want to be there for them.
Terry makes anywhere around 200 calls every month checking on patients post-ER. She gives out her personal number, so if somebody wants to connect with her again, they can, and she says they often do. Not just a check-in, Kyle, but another chance to direct these patients to various support groups, resources, counselors. So she's one part director, right? And the other part is just someone to listen to somebody.
That's no small weight that she is offering to carry.
No. I asked her if this helps her in her own healing process. She says it really does, but she feels like sometimes the person giving the message can be as important as the message itself.
Sure. Jennifer Meckles, thank you.
I think for Native communities, that historical importance just it can't be overstated.
Coloradans have helped native tribes build their buffalo herds for years. Now that effort could go nationwide. Xcel's transition to clean energy requires some expensive new tech, with federal taxpayers cutting a check to get it going here. And the road to recovery is long and difficult. A Coloradan says his bike made that journey easier. We'll meet him next. Xcel's clean energy transition is going to get a boost from federal taxpayers. $70 million from the Department of Energy will help Xcel build clean energy storage at the site of a soon-to-be-retired coal plant. This funding is part of Xcel's plan to build 2 massive clean energy storage battery sites in Minnesota and Colorado. The batteries can store power for up to 100 hours, and that should help level out fluctuations in renewable energy like wind and solar. Xcel says it'll also reduce the need for backup natural gas generators. Xcel wants to build its Colorado-based battery in Pueblo on the grounds of the Comanche coal-fired plant. That's expected to be retired by 2031. It's the first of several battery storage facilities that Xcel wants to build across Colorado to meet state mandates on clean energy goals. Xcel thinks the whole plan can be accomplished with a lot of federal funding plus a rate increase of about 2% a year. Because, Danielle, the wind does not always blow, and that's a good thing. And the sun does not always shine. The people will be split on whether or not that is a good thing. But a summery week.
I'm loving it. I know. The summer season is just still holding on as we wind down September. Sunshine is out, temperatures holding in the low 80s. I mean, we're going to have cooler temperatures soon, but isn't this just so nice? It's quiet, it's calm, and it's stunning. Look at that. So bright out there in Fort Collins out at the CSU campus. The month of September has overall been a warm one for us. Okay, we have had a few below average days, but about the past week and a half, we have been seeing those 80-degree temperatures holding steady. And once again today, that was it. 90s in Pueblo and Lamar, Springfield too. All right, that's a little toasty for the end of September. 70s and low 80s up in the mountains too. On the radar tonight, we don't have much. Tonight temperatures are going to be fairly mild in the upper 40s into northern Colorado another night, right there around 50 degrees here in Denver. High pressure is once again around. It's camping out. It is hanging out with us at least through the weekend. Our storm track staying well to the north, so all those scattered rain showers and a little bit of snow not going to be impacting us. Nothing but sunshine again for your Wednesday. We're looking at temperatures a little warmer actually tomorrow afternoon, mid to upper 80s here in the city, close to 90 yet again around Lamar and Pueblo with 70s up in the mountains. Look at this 7-day forecast. If you like the heat, you like the summer season, wow, this week is for you. Even this weekend looks fantastic. The winds will be kicking up a bit, so we will be monitoring high fire danger, especially on Saturday. But then a slight cool off arrives by next Tuesday when those temperatures fall into the 70s.
We don't want to make this a bike film. This isn't a cycling film. This is like a human film.
They say they know the sport is not for everyone, but they're convinced that their message about overcoming addiction, that is universal. It looks like Congress is getting around to recognizing how to better build the relationship between native tribes and bison. Researchers in Colorado have already been doing it for years. Tribes have been doing the work even longer. In 2015, CSU helped establish the Laramie Foothills Bison Conservation Herd. It's been bred to have the same genetics as bison living in Yellowstone National Park. Over the years, the herd has grown. CSU has sent 100 of those bison to native tribes, another 60 to conservation groups. If you know one of these efforts in Colorado, I'm guessing it would be the Genesee Park herd. They're the bison you can see off I-70 as you're headed up the hill. That's a City of Denver project. Denver Mountain Parks runs that conservation program. In March, 35 of those bison, the latest group to leave, went off to tribes. The lead researcher for CSU's herd told us that Congress's newly introduced Indian Buffalo Management Act is a huge step forward in their view to provide permanent support for these kinds of programs.
It enables tribes to plan and build these programs with some level of stability and sustainability. And on top of just managing the animals, it helps protect the habitat too, which is critical to creating sustainable and healthy populations.
This congressional act would leave most of the animals' management and ownership to the tribes. It would also require tribal consultation on things that could affect bison restoration or their habitats. Addiction poses different struggles for different people. Cyclist from Boulder told us how his bike both helped and hindered him on his addiction journey, and why he's working with a film crew to share that story.
Peter does want to help other people, and by getting this story out, he's able to do that.
Yeah, when I was 12 years old, I used drugs for the first time. I eventually got sober, and my last use was March 20, 2014. I discovered cycling as an adult and sort of a sober person shortly after that. While we were filming, I was sort of undergoing this experience in my own life where I was realizing that cycling I was leaning on it too heavily.
We're running with the title of Peter's name, Peter Hogan.
So I feel a little weird saying that because it's like Rafa presents Peter Hogan, but I'll just pretend like that's not weird and go through it anyways.
This was like by far the hardest project I've ever done. You're like taking a friend or like a subject's trust and like putting that on your shoulders.
And we just have to be very kind and open and you know, there to really listen and to almost have him shape the film.
A lot of films that talk about addiction in sport coin sport or hobbies as a solution for addiction.
My bike is like now my new drug, or like fishing is my new drug.
Saying that if you go fly fishing a bunch or you ride your bike a bunch, you'll stop using drugs and your life will get better is problematic for a lot of reasons. It's not true, and it's inaccessible.
We didn't want it to come off as like the bike is the hero here and like the bike solved addiction. It's like, this is Peter's story.
I hope that people that see this can understand that no matter how far down whatever rabbit hole you've gone, you can recover, you will recover, and when you do, you will see how your experience can benefit others.
Peter's story is playing this Thursday as part of the Stories Worth Telling Film Festival in Golden. Your feedback tonight comes in the form of questions, thank you, about Denver's hotel for people living on the streets, question about who gets paid in a government shutdown, and the mystery feedback that Aaron just brought me. Next. It's a sign that we should not be showing you here. Really, it's a private sign. Avert your eyes. Do not look at this. Carolyn Centennial was up in Palisade over the weekend, spotted the sign. Private sign, do not read. So don't, okay? Whatever you do, do not read that sign. But if you see a sign that's just too good not to look twice, keep sending them our way. Next@9news.com is the email. You can use the hashtag HeyNext. A great question from Wendy about Denver's new policies regarding homeless encampment sweeps, the hotel rooms that are being offered to people. Wendy says, could the lady who had the dog take her dog to the hotel? Yes. Mark Salinger says pets are allowed at the hotel shelter, and a lot of the folks there actually have pets. That's something that we've heard about quite a bit from people who are living on the streets, that one reason why they would choose that environment over, say, the standalone shelters in town is because they couldn't always take a pet inside. So city's looking at that as one more barrier of resistance that it might be able to break down. Sophie says this is a good first step, but folks need mental health support, addiction treatment. Don't just treat the symptom. Otherwise, they're still suffering. My guess is, Sophie, there's a lot of different people in a whole lot of different boats. And perhaps the city can start to get the right oars to the right people. You know what I'm saying? See you next time.